How's it going? Welcome back, my wonderful wise ones, to another great video with your host, the Savior. It's good to be back. And I'm sorry I haven't made that much content this month. My channel analytics are looking very dangerous right now. We are going to be discussing something that has my interest, something that has piqued my curiosity. And let's be honest, I'm not that excited about newer games. I've basically been playing decade-year-old games for a long time at this point.
I know that I keep messing everything up, and I know that I let you down.
So after playing the recent beta and all the other early access stuff, let's dive into what this game actually is, okay? It's made by ex-developers of Blizzard, and I think that this truly needs more attention because it's doing something quite unique. Finally, a new game that does something unique. I know, what is this black magic? But the big problem is I feel many people are going to overlook this game simply because it's in the shadow of games like Concord. And that has still left a very sour taste in many people's mouths, not surprisingly. And the art style is somewhat, kind of similar, but I feel like this captures much more of a cool PS2 retro aesthetic, similar to Ratchet & Clank and stuff like that.
Too late again. We always seem to be a bit late. Why is that?
And if you are new here, do consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean a great deal to me. Let's get past 15k, shall we, and grow the Wise One community to be better and stronger, united, okay? If you love gaming analysis, video essays, and philosophical content, I combine them all on my channel to give you something unique and creative, I hope. Do check out my playlist on philosophy. I'm actually creating a new philosophy called Solism, if you're interested, and check out the game reviews if that's your jam as well. But being a wise one is all about thinking objectively and clear-mindedly so we can all have different perspectives, come together, and discuss, things that we are passionate about, like video games. And boy oh boy, does this game spark a lot of that kind of excitement for me that I've been missing in games for a while now, because it's taking creative risk, okay? It's not just another copy and pasted hero shooter, and that's exactly why Concord died, because it was just absolute, the most, just like blatant, boring CEO copy and pasted corporate garbage with a little bit of, let's try and make it, cool for the kids type energy with the character designs, the art style, the gameplay, what's very formulaic. This is not a hero shooter. And I think a lot of people are already ignoring this game simply because it does look like your average kind of, 4 versus 4 hero shooter class-based game. But this is actually very cool and special, if you ask me. And I think this could be a major hit.
Come on, let's go!
So I do hope you enjoy this Wildgate review. We're gonna jump straight into the positives and negatives of this new Wildgate early access review based on all the stuff that I've managed to play and some, behind the scenes stuff as well at different events. And I also will be going to Tokyo Game Show in September, so I'm going to be covering a lot of new games there. So, stay tuned for a lot more coverage for interesting games, especially. So let's get into the positives and negatives. So let me give you the tagline, okay, what everyone will be saying about this game, okay? Wildgate is basically Sea of Thieves in space, okay? But it's a lot more than that. It's actually got a lot of different gameplay elements to it. It's got a little bit of extraction, like the finals, where you have to basically catch this golden snitch.
Listen, Harry, you're a wizard.
No, Hagrid, I'm just Harry.
Harry, for God's sake, you're a wizard.
A wizard? I'm just Harry.
Actual good side exploration before things get absolutely crazy. And boy oh boy, okay, for any old school gamer out there, I feel like an old man preaching to the wind now, but if any of you have played the original classic Battlefront 2 game, okay, where you basically get to fight in space battles and board the other enemy ships and sabotage it from within. There hasn't been a game to capture that feeling, but finally we have it here, and it's just amazing, okay? You can literally jump out into space, jetpack across, you know, use all kinds of different gadgets, which I'll talk about more later. It's all physics-based as well, and literally sabotage the other enemy's ship from within, or just wipe out the whole team. It's got so many cool ideas, like I said, extraction, exploration, when you're kind of gearing up before the main fight, there's side areas to explore where you're fighting other, you know, NPCs, not actual players, to gather loot and stuff like that to make you stronger. It's got this battleship kind of overview as well. It's just doing a lot of different things, and I think it's very interesting. This is basically 4 versus 4, you know, PvP, but there are, you know, actual just like random enemies, you know, different aliens and stuff like that you get to fight when you're exploring as well, that aren't, you know, player controlled, which is pretty nice, and it just adds to the, you know, kind of wider kind of universe of this game world, which I really like. And you don't want to be playing against, you know, other players constantly, so it's a nice, you know, kind of switch up. Kind of reminds me of Titanfall, where they kind of mix and match between real people and other, you know, NPCs and stuff like that. And basically there are going to be 5 teams, but it's very unlikely that you're going to be fighting, you know, these other 5 teams, destroying their ships. You can do it that way, but basically the way to win this game is you need to extract with this kind of golden snitch, this artifact, like you find a precursor orb, if you will, and then bring it to the portal at the end and escape with your life. Also, it's got, you know, lots of micromanagement within the ship itself. So like I said, like Sea of Thieves, you know, your ship will get blown apart and you have to repair it. There's oxygen to manage, you know, literally being a space pirate. I mean, you know, that's been one of my dreams since I was like a kid. So it's pretty cool stuff. And you do have to actually work as a team to, you know, fix up your ship, make sure there's no, you know, Klingons aboard the ship.
I am Klingon!
So if that premise already sounds good to you, then I would highly urge you to check out this new game, Wildgate. So now let's get deeper into this Wildgate review and discuss, you know, the main points that I think it does well. These are all going to be positives, okay, until the very end, where I've got a few negatives, because this is mostly a positive review. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's a positive every single time, just until I say it's a negative, if that makes sense. Before you get into the main fight, the main thick of it, with the other team members, okay, you know, fighting their ships and all that kind of stuff, what you will be doing is exploring the outer rims of, you know, each location. And it's all, you know, in space, obviously, but there are areas where, you know, basically it's not zero gravity anymore. Once you've entered, you know, like the ship's bubble, you'll basically have access to normal gravity when you actually get into the ship, or other side locations, exploring dungeons, caves, and stuff like that. And what's really cool here is it's not just, you know, a way to gather, you know, like XP or something like that. There's actual tangible upgrades that you pick up, physical things. It's all physics based. So, you know, if there's a new gun for your ship, you actually have to pick it up, you have to put it on your ship. There's different modules that you have to actually, you know, attach to your ship physically and stuff like that, which is really cool. Better weapons for yourself and all of that kind of stuff. And then there's a whole, you know, progression path through, you know, completing the mission. If you win or you lose, how much XP you get and all that kind of stuff, how many people you take down, all of that good stuff. Also, the time to kill in this game is very satisfying. I like it because it looks very, you know, sci-fi fantasy, but the time to kill is actually quite realistic and very short, which I like, actually. And what I really like about it is with the dungeons, okay, it's all going to be randomly generated, which I'm not the biggest fan of. That's a slight negative, I guess, because I prefer handcrafted, you know, maps and stuff like that. But still, you know, it does look different, which I do like. But basically there are different puzzles to solve, so it adds to the variation of gameplay. It is full steam ahead, Scotty, and I wish there was times where it's a little bit more zen, a little bit more relaxed, where you can go off and explore, you know, like derelict ships and stuff like that, and different side locations without the need to, you know, rush through everything. But of course, it's that type of experience. Also, some teams will ignore all of this and they'll just go looking for the artifact and get the hell out of Dodge, you know, maybe upgrade their, you know, like speed, and that's it. But But I just like the fact that you can tackle this game in multitude of different ways, which is pretty rare for a multiplayer PvP shooter, okay? And you can tell that the polish is here because it's ex-Blizzard, and I really do like that. There's different tools to use, you know, like jetpacks. The classes all play a little bit differently. It's not character-based, I would say it's more class-based, like Battlefront or something, where, you know, if you play as a robot, you won't need to use oxygen, for example, because you don't need to breathe, obviously. Stuff like that, you know, if you're trying to penetrate another person's ship, that sounds a little bit weird, but let's just go with it. You know, you can play as this kind of armed alien that can bash into the enemy ship much easier, stuff like that. So it's more class-based and passive abilities. It doesn't actually change the way you play. It's not a hero shooter, and I just love the fact that there's different physical upgrades for your weapons, for traversal. You know, there's like a traction beam gun. You actually get access to you know, tractor beam weapon, which pulls the other ship closer to you. Or you can, you know, grapple onto them. So many different things. You can literally attach like thrusters, like Guardians of the Galaxy or something, to the other person's ship to, you know, spin them. You know, lots of different creative ideas, which I really like. But once you pick up the artifact, it will trigger the ping system, and then everyone is alerted to your location. That's when you go after that other, you know, ship that has the artifact on board, and then it's basically, you know, a fight to get the artifact if you're not trying to take out all the other teams. I think something that holds it back a little bit is it needs a little bit more of that exploration gameplay, you know, before you get into the main fight. You know, I really like those kind of dungeons, clearing out, you know, these enemy camps and taking the loot and stuff like that. There should be a little bit more to that, and, you know, like meeting the other team in shared dungeons, because it's kind of more of a starter area. It would be cool to see that a little bit more mixed. Also, the graphics here are really good, but the texture work, I feel, is a little bit sloppy, and obviously it's got a unique art style. Like I said, it reminds me of Treasure Planet meets Ratchet & Clank, some pretty cool retro vibes, and I really do like that they are playing around with physics, because that is my go-to shit in games, because I'm a crazy man. I could just watch, you know, like a little flapper in a game, like a little, you know, cloth flapping around for a long time, because I'm insane.
You listen to me, James Hawkins. You got the makings of greatness in you, but you gotta take the helm and charge your own course. Stick to it, no matter the squalls.
So here's the cool thing though, when you actually board an enemy ship, you know, there are different things that you can do. You could hide and smuggle yourself in there and then just wait for, you know, the team to spawn and kill them. If you're a little bit of a douche, a little bit of a camper, you could play it that way. You could go the sabotage route and, you know, destroy different, you know, elements of the ship itself and get out of dodge, like sabotage their engines or their weapons and stuff like that. Or you could go full self-destruct. So there's different ways to play it, like I said, and it does have that magic of Sea of Thieves, because Sea of Thieves had a lot of cool ideas, but it's very slow in between. This gets you right into the, you know, best action of Sea of Thieves, but it's in space. So the reason I wanted to give you this Wildgate review is because I just feel like it's not going to get enough attention. You know, at the moment, a lot of us are upset with how the gaming industry is turning out. You know, it's a little bit better compared to what it was a few years ago, but prices have increased, and everyone knows how tough it is right now when it just comes to the cost of living. It's no joke. And having games, you know, cost like $80 and stuff, it's kind of ridiculous. Having this game, you know, be on the cheaper side, I think that's a really good thing. Having it be creative as well, playing with new ideas, is also really fun to me. And this game lives or dies by its player base. That's what's kind of scary about this kind of creative idea. I think it's fun. I think it does have legs, but I don't know if it's going to have staying power, because for that they need to add new game modes. At the moment it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of different ways to play it, which I like, but they do need to add different modes, I think, you know, some kind of big sandbox exploration mode or something like that. That would be really cool. But what's here is very promising, and I think if people are ignoring this just because they feel burnt out on the hero shooter, extraction shooter, / Concord, you know, big failure, this isn't anything like that. You know, it's borrowing the best elements from some of the best multiplayer games and kind of blending them together in this kind of soup that is quite tasty. Alright, so now let's get into a few of the negatives right now. So I would say that, first of all, that the gunplay is good, okay? but it does feel a little bit arcadey, a little bit light. I want it to have a little bit more heft to it, a little bit more weight to it, especially when the time to kill is so quick. They might, patch that. Also, I do like the, different enemies that you fight. Like I said, it really does remind me of Ratchet & Clank. Some of these enemies, some of these character designs that you can play as well. It's not anything corny or, some kind of weird modern day politics forced into this game as far as I can see. So that's very promising straight away. And it's not, cramming tons of microtransactions as far as I can see from the early access, and I hope it stays like that. Another small negative, and this is a little nitpick, but the voice work, the dialogue in this can be a little bit annoying at times. Some of the characters will just talk to themselves, for no reason whatsoever, and it's just just noise, just terrible dialogue that kind of takes you out of the experience. I really hope that they add, more to this game later down the road, like a single player mode or something along those lines. And also, like smaller ships that you can, maybe control with a smaller team. That would also be cool, like a 2-man ship, have smaller matches, as it were, but more teams. That would also be very cool, more kind of dogfighting in space. Because the ships themselves are very clunky. They're like these giant, kind of mega trucks to drive, so it's not fast, they're very slow moving, but just jumping out and going off into zero gravity and boarding another person's ship, it is very cool, and not many games have done that. I think it just could be a little bit tighter with some of its design aspects, but overall the gameplay itself is what's good, and that's what really pulls me in, and that's why I wanted to highlight this game, because it's not getting enough love, and I really do encourage creativity in anything, to be honest, especially gaming. So that is my Wildgate review, my Wildgate game review based on the early access stuff for Wildgate. I do highly recommend that you check it out. Maybe even wait for a price drop, but already it's not too expensive, and this does, need more players to stay alive. And honestly, I just hope this isn't going to be another flop, because it doesn't deserve to be a flop just from the gameplay alone. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, this could be a big thing if more people get on board with it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down below in the comments if you're interested in this type of game or it doesn't look interesting to you and just the gaming industry in general. I will be uploading more videos. I'm sorry I've been kind of slacking this month, but I've been balancing it with another job because YouTube is not paying enough at the moment. So do bear with me, and I will try and make more content. But do support the channel if you can, because that would really, help me make more content. And subscribe if you are new. I would appreciate it a lot. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.